Good morning, everybody. This is video clip number 4, marine insurance. We're going to focus first of all on insurance and what it was, and we're going to look at marine insurance and how we insure the cargo, the ship, and also third-party events. More about that later. But before we start, let's just make sure that we understand that marine insurance actually means maritime. That's the whole transport chain. So insurance is the possibility of disruption of an unplanned event where we take out cover to gain compensation in the event of one of these events. So what is risk in international trade? We know that 90% of international trade goes by sea, and SAFE is free from risk. So we continuously strive to remove risk from international trade, but there's always things that are going to go wrong. Let me give you some examples. Containers get lost overboard, ships are fined for stowaways, ships get damaged by banging the quay, cargo gets stolen, and ships go aground. These things we have managed to reduce over the years, but they still happen. So when these things happen, it's going to cause a loss to someone. Most likely the owner of the ship, the port where the quay was damaged. Somebody has to be compensated for that. So we need money available to compensate that, or to restore the venture, to repair it and put it back in the condition as it was. If we didn't have this, we wouldn't be able to carry on business. So we need somebody who's got a lot of money, who will cover the risk in return for an amount of money called a premium, which is worked out as a percentage of the value of the insured goods. So if it's 20%, that means that you're going to pay 20% premium on that. So, history of insurance goes back many years, but we're going to go to 1550. 1550 was an interesting period because this was a period of great growth in Britain. We know that trade is the major generator of economic growth, and in those days it was wooden ships and iron men. The men had to be very tough to handle these small wooden ships, and they weren't built to any very high standards, and they didn't have charts, and so the whole thing about venturing in maritime trade and transport was extremely risky business, and the ship owners and the traders were reluctant to go on these long voyages because they probably lose their ship and they wouldn't get a return on the investment. It was that period of Queen Elizabeth I of England who came up with the idea of getting the lords and the people who owned the money in England to put up money to compensate the people who ventured forth in the event of any loss. So they became called names, and they were grouped together in syndicates. So we have the risk being covered by the names, but these traders had to put up a premium as a percentage of the total risk involved. Then in 1700, insurance started to get itself organized. We had those names who were grouped together in syndicates who put up their money. They appointed one person as an underwriter who would negotiate with a person called a broker who represented the ship owner and the cargo owner. The broker would come to an underwriter and say, I have a need to cover a voyage, cover some cargo, cover a ship against risk, and here's the sort of risks, and here's where the ship is going. And they would agree a premium as a percentage, and they would draw up a document called a policy. This was an agreement or a contract. Round about the same time, along came an individual by the name of Edward Lloyd. He decided that he was going to open a coffee house to attract the underwriters and the brokers to drink his coffee, and he would provide paper, quill pens, information, and give them a place where they could meet. This was in the City of London, and this has grown into the Lloyd's Corporation as we know it today, which is the world's largest marketplace, insurance marketplace. So, we have a policy that is an agreement between two parties and is called a contract. And it's important to look at what a contract is now. It is an agreement. A policy is an agreement to pay an amount on the occurrence of a listed event. A contract is a written record of an agreement between two parties. This comes to us from common law. Common law was codified by a guy by the name of Emperor Justinian. He was a Roman emperor, and he took all the laws that were in his domain in the Mediterranean, and he brought them together and he standardized them and codified them. And one of these common laws, which are the laws of society, excuse me, is the law of contract. And a contract requires full disclosure by both parties of all the information about the contract. Contract must be negotiated in utmost good faith. Obra me fide means utmost good faith. That is a Latin term, and it comes to us from Emperor Justinian. So that quickly sums up the basics of insurance. A lovely subject if you love your history, but there's an awful lot more to learn, but those are the basics. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for joining us today. To learn more, please contact us at maritime@shaw.ca. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good day.